Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with our final episode for this recording session of Hearthstone. Now, I have already done all the quests. Sadly, I did about half the quests in an episode where I screwed up and the volume didn't get recorded. And so there were some conversations I had, which I then repeated on about half of those conversations on the next episode, and so I still have some conversations that I can repeat, and that's what we're going to do today. Since we have no quest, we're also going to remake the Mage deck so that it is just down here at the bottom. We might as well, that way, at this point I think I've remade every other character. I'm pretty sure I have. And so remaking the Mage will put that deck right here, so anything past the Mage, once I start remaking the decks again, will be past the Mage. So it makes a little barrier line so we can remember. Um, this will probably be a pretty fast episode. We may not even do 5 games. I mean, we probably won't do 5. At most, we may do 4. Um, let's see. So here's my deck. Notice it doesn't even get all the way to the bottom because I have so many 2 of everything. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. And lots of gold versions. Uh, I was taking all the gold versions and putting them in once I had them. So let's say goodbye to this deck. Look at the histogram. It's kind of a late game histogram, a little bit. So bye bye Mage. Do I think I'm going to really make any significant changes to how the deck is aligned? I don't think so. Let's just look at the neutral cards and see if there's some other strategy. Would I do a Murloc's deck? No. Would I do a Pirate's deck? No. Um, Mage is all about spell power. All the soulbound cards in a Mage are about spell power. And I don't think there would be a lot that's going to change that. We could, let's see. Ursa, no. 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 No, no, no. Yeah. So, what I want to do, first of all, is anything that deals damage goes in. See, let's fill up this with just cards that do damage. Let's see. Spell damage +1. Anything with spell damage +1 I want in the deck too. Fireball, we'll get the gold version. Flame Strike, we'll get the gold versions. Alright. So now I want to find all the characters that have spell damage +1 as their effect. The only other thing you could really do is have secrets. You could have a secrets deck, you could have a frozen deck. A little bit more focused on freezing the characters than... So we have the Kobold Geomancer, who is the cheapest mana count I know of for spell damage +1. We should be running up with the next spell damage +1 character that I know of that is 4 mana. Nope, it's 3. It is the Darlin Mage. 2 gold versions of that. Is this really the best strategy? Maybe it's not. Maybe the secret strategy is better strategy. Because we're spending all this effort to just get your spell damage to go up. You almost, if you got all of these guys so that your spell damage is +6, +7, I guess 7 is the max you'd probably get. You could probably get a little higher than that if you pulled some tricks, but at most you're going to get 7 damage, so your 6 damage becomes a 13 damage. Well, if you have 2 of those, you're 26 damage. Alright, so here's the Ogre Magi. He is 4 mana for spell damage +1. So there's pretty much 1 for each mana level. Which is the right way to make a card game. I mean, you'd have a 1 mana character that's spell damage +1, a 2 mana character that's spell damage +1, a 3 mana, 4 mana, and just keep on going. And if it was a 10 mana spell damage +1, it would have much higher attack than if it was a 1 or 0 mana spell damage +1. If it was a 0 mana spell damage +1, it would have to almost be a 0/1. Alright, so here's a spell damage +1 dragon for 5. Almost missed that one. Here's your spell damage +1 for 6 mana, the Archmage. Now we could get this guy in the deck and we'll put him in there for the moment. He's not a spell damage +1, he draws a card every time we play a spell. Now 7 mana, there probably is a 7 mana spell damage +1 and there's probably an 8 mana +1. But I don't seem to have them. So let's work our way back now, look over the cards again, and start putting in some of the ones. We have 2 cards left. Just 2 spaces for 2 more cards. One of them almost certainly should be Owl. And maybe a Taunt guy, because we have no Taunt guys. Let's bring that guy in. There is the character. I don't think I have him. We'll have to go in crafting mode and look for the character. Whenever you play a card, gain +1/+1. That might be a smart card to have in a deck like this, because you're just gonna try and play all your cards real fast. This feels like a very unbalanced deck. It feels very unbalanced. I'm not able to put a Mana Wraith in it. I'm not able to do a lot of the things I would like to do. Let's see. Well, I put Mirror Image. Those are 2 taunts. Ice Lance. Maybe I could give it a Ice Lance. Snow Chugger, just using there just to freeze things. So there's like 3 cards here that if I had other cards, I could get rid of him. Is there anything I specifically want? I mean, Fugue and Installer, yes, we could try to get him in there, but I'm so tired of Fugue and Installer at this point. I'm really tired of them. Add a random minion for unstable porter. I'll trade that. We'll take out him and we'll put in that. And your spells cost 2 less. We'll take out Ice Lance and we'll put in that. Alright. So we're really focusing on our spells. And there's a lot more spells that we could have put in here, but we didn't really have room. So you can't even play them all. You just can't do it. So let's go to crafting mode and just look at what's here. You have the flame cannon. You have the counter spell. Let's see. Ice block. You're immune this turn. Whenever an enemy casts a spell on a minion, summon a 1/3 new target. That's like a secret. Right, yep. When I can't even read it. When you summon attackers, destroy it. This is totally messed up, man. Don't ghost out the thing I need to read. Put a copy of each friendly minion in your hand. That's what it says. If you have a mech, deal 4 damage randomly among all enemies. Adjacent minions cannot be targeted by spells. When you cast a spell, add Fireball spell to your hand. Ooh, that is probably a very good card that you need. Whenever you cast a spell, have a Fireball spell in your hand. And interesting, it gives you the Fireball because the Mage's ability is Fire Blast. And it really should be the Mage's ability is Fireball. And this is Fire Blast, but whatever. When you draw this, deal 2 damage to all other characters. This is one of the new Goblins vs. Gnomes cards that does something when you draw it. And that is always a new wild mechanic. And then you have Pyroblast. So you could potentially do 17 damage if you have your spell damage up with this. So let's look at the neutral cards and just show you the one I was thinking about. Spell damage plus 1 death rattle, draw a card. Yeah, he'd be real good to have. He's legendary. Let's work our way back here. Apparently, there's only like 2 zeros at the moment. And I suppose that's pretty fair. One is a 1/1. One that has taunt and is a 0/2. If it was spell damage, it would have to be a 0/1. And I believe there's a totem like that, so it's not like there isn't a card that exists like that, it's just not a neutral card. And then the ones, I don't see a spell damage for 1. There's probably an opening there. Doesn't seem like there's a 1 mana for spell damage plus 1. Whenever you cast a spell, gain 2 attack this turn. Maybe that would help, but it's just that turn. There's a danger that they would have to they're gonna have to eventually make cards so balanced that they're gonna have paragraphs and paragraphs of just like, if this happens and this happens, then the attack is this. But if this happens and this happens, then the attack is this. And you certainly can't allow that to happen in any card game. It has to be simple and it has to work in a good amount of time and just not be too crazy. Here we go. Ancient Mage is a 4 mana and he doesn't give you spell damage +1. He gives adjacent menus spell damage +1. So you could have 2 cards on either side that already have spell damage +1, and either 2 things are going to happen. Either they are still going to have spell damage +1, or spell damage +2. I don't know. I've never been able to play this card in that fashion, so depends on how it's programmed. That's always the little tricks of these games, is that how are you going to interpret the instructions. But if he gives 1 on each side spell damage +1, you've gotten effectively spell damage +2. Here's another guy, another 4 spell damage +1 and stealth. He'd be very good. It doesn't look like they're ever gonna touch like a spell damage +2 on a basic card. That doesn't seem like it would be. I just want to play this card once. I want to see what that does. I will eventually. Yeah, I don't think spell damage +2 is going to come about anytime soon. They might get to a point where they're just trying to get rid of classic cards and power level them out. And so then every classic card would have an upgraded version that's like 1 better. Something like whenever you cast a spell, draw a card. Well, if they wanted to just phase that out, they might power level it out and come out with an upgraded version of this card that said draw 2 cards. But I don't think they want to do that anytime soon. Why not? Why would you want to do that? Why do you want to, particularly when you're not making money selling new versions of the same old cards, or just new cards in general? Blizzard has a beta for a new game, by the way, it turns out. Blizzard, the makers of this game, Hearthstone. It's called Heroes of the Storm. If you want to go check it out, it looks like it is a top-down real-time strategy, online competitive, whatever you would call that game. It's not something I'd probably want to play. It's too twitchy, too fast. It seems to have characters from all their other games, which is cool. There's a game called, what's it called? League of Legends. It seems to be very similar to that, and from what I've heard, there's like a whole snake eating its tail thing going on with that, where League of Legends had characters that were based on I think Blizzard properties, and then Blizzard was okay with it, and then or they were just silent about it or something, and now that Blizzard's coming out with its own thing. League of Legends has been asked or told that they have to go change some characters' names and adjust it. Now, everything I may have said may have been wrong, but that's what I think has happened. League of Legends is very popular. If you haven't heard of it, lots of people play it, lots of people watch it. It's just very fast-paced real-time strategy. If you want to get into real-time strategy, I'd recommend you getting StarCraft 2, or maybe even start with StarCraft 1. Heck, you might even want to go back to Warcraft, the original Warcraft, not World of Warcraft. And those are all real-time strategies, single player, so you could work your way up those and learn the systems and see how they got more complicated and more diverse as the games came out. So here is a character that's spell damage +5. So a legendary character, spell damage +5. You would definitely want that guy in your mage deck. So there is a spell damage +5, but I haven't seen spell damage +2 or anything else. So I'm still kind of standing by what I said, but there is one exception. But almost all these legendary top tier cards are the exception that proves the rule. And so that's our mage deck, and I think that was long enough to count as one game. So let's play, say, about 4 more. Now, Mage has always been up here because we've never redone the deck. Now Mage is down here, and we'll stay down here until we decide to remake the Warlock or whatever other deck we remake. Maybe we'll get rid of Murlocs at some point. Again, Mage is at level 60, so there is not much motivation to play as her. So we're just kind of wrapping up this episode, showing off the deck we built, showing it probably wasn't a major improvement, it was probably a detriment.
I will fight with honor.
You asked
But
for
we'll
it.
try it. Okay, so the conversation, now that we're into the games, the conversation that I had in the last recording that I wanted to get back to, and I want to get people's feedback on this. So if you hear this, give me comments. Doesn't matter if you're seeing this 10 years down the road. I'll get the message. Ooh, this is a nice way to start the game. Play this and then play this with the coin. I heard somewhere, and this is probably not even right. I'm probably just being dumb. But I've heard, and maybe other people have heard this, that, oh, the coin counted as a spell, nice. That every 7-year cycle, every single cell in your body is different. So, I could believe, I have sort of believed this for a very long time in my life. And more than just believe in it, maybe it's my belief in this that has formed my own feelings about this. I kind of feel like it's true. It feels like every 7 years or so, not particularly saying exactly 7 years, that the second I hit 7 years, I just feel like a completely different person.
What to do? What to do?
But it seems like every 7 years I wake up and I feel like this person 7 years previous is a completely different person. And so the realization comes upon me that it feels like I've changed. Now, most people would at first say, yeah, that's just getting older and growing and maturing, and yes, I agree with a lot of that. But there's some stuff that changed that I didn't want to change. I did not. Let's see. I said this a different way the first time, but when I was very young, pretty much as far as back as I can remember, I've always been obsessed with Nintendo, and obsessed is the right term. I was the original gotta get them all decades before Pokemon was even thought of. So I have, at the moment, I have sitting around a major Nintendo collection, but it's kind of all boxed up and I really don't care about Nintendo anymore. And I really lament that. I really lament that I don't have that passion for Nintendo that I used to have. And I'm not totally sure why I don't have the passion. I don't know what happened. I can make some guesstimations, but I lost that passion and I didn't want to lose that passion. I really wish I could love Nintendo like I used to. Now, on the aspect of Nintendo, uh, versus the things I'm going to get into later, what the hell is this?
Reporting for duty.
Ford Dragon, whenever a friendly minion dies while this is in your hand, gain +1 attack. Oh, that looks like a Goblins vs. Gnomes card if I've ever seen one. Here we go.
I wonder.
Now, when you start talking about Nintendo, it's hard for anybody in today's day and age to be a fan of Nintendo. Nintendo, from my perspective, their mistake was when they went from the GameCube. Is that another legendary card? What are you doing at rank 19 with all these legendary cards? Like, now I need the silence to kill that one.
What to do?
Are you ready for this?
My opinion is that after the GameCube, when they went to the Wii, they introduced a great new concept for controller, but it only suited their games, and it totally lost them all their support for third-party developers to the point where it's gotten to the point where if you got the Wii U right now, you can play all the Nintendo games, which is fine, and just about nothing else. And so you're talking paying $250 for a device to play maybe 6 or 7 games over the course of 2 years, and that's too expensive. And so once they got away from a regular controller, instead of, it's just can't do anything about it. Can't still support them. I love the Nintendo games. If the Nintendo games came out on a different console or PC, I mean, their best bet would be for them to go on PC. Then they would sidestep any competition that they feel they're competing with. As far as Microsoft and Sony, they could just say our games are going to come out on PC. They could probably really do some cool stuff if they started working on a PC instead of their underpowered devices, but that's not their business model. Their business model is that they sell their consoles for a profit, whereas Microsoft and Sony sell their consoles for a loss and try to make it up in the games. And Microsoft and Sony obviously succeeded with that plan because there's way more third-party games on the Xbox One and PS4 than there is the Wii U. And so they've done a lot of frustrating things to just lose my face. So even if I did have the passion to be a Nintendo fanatic, I'd probably still lose it. I probably would have lost it a lot earlier, would have lost it at this point anyways. I mean, it's just hard to be a fan of them. I like their games. I want to see their games on PC. That's just the solution. And then I'll play it. Otherwise, I'm not going to play a Wii U game until I get one at like a pawn shop. years and years later, after um, everything is after they are no longer being produced, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get one at a pawn shop and get a bunch of used games, and then I'll play them. And it won't really. Well, I may not even do that if I'm so busy on the YouTube channel. I may just never play them, and that's real sad. It's real sad to think for a second. I may never play another Mario game. May never play another Metroid game. I may never play another Legend of Zelda game. Um, that's real sad. Uh, so moving from my early youth as being a Nintendo fan, in my late teens, early 20s, I called myself an otaku. Now, if you don't know what an otaku is, and it kind of is a nebulous term that means something different to everybody, but it means basically a super obsessed hyper fan of Japanese animation or anime. If you don't know what anime is, it's animation made by Japanese, but unlike in America or the Western countries where they think that all cartoons are specifically for kids and adults would never watch them, in Japan it can run the gamut. They have cartoons, they have anime that is designated from their cultural perspective for little kids to all the way to the most hardcore pornographic thing you've ever seen in your life. It's just a whole gamut in between.
What to do? What to do?
And I say what they think is culturally appropriate for kids because Japanese have different opinions on things that a lot of Americans or United Statesians would have problems with, particularly in the forms of incidental nudity. Europeans would probably be more lax on that. But that's a broad generalization, so whatever.
Job's done.
So I was a super fan of anime, and I have a major collection, and I am still very happy about having this collection. I have hundreds and hundreds of DVDs, and I'm happy I own them. I'm happy I own these DVDs. In fact, to my own sad minutes, some of them are still sitting in their shrink wrap because even when I've had the time to watch them, I've never felt like I've earned the time to watch them. And it is a major commitment. You're talking anywhere between 6 to 12 to 13 hours of one season. If it were a 26 episode season of an hour-long show, you're talking maybe 26 hours, and that's watching at least an hour or an hour and a half every single day to get done in a month. And there have been times when I've had that much free time, but I've never felt really in the mood to watch them. Now I sometimes do still watch a few anime things,
You asked for
but
it.
nowhere near the obsessive level I was doing before. Before I was watching it, like I said, every day for a couple hours, and I was loving it. And now I feel like that was my second iteration of me in a lot of ways. Like, to get back to the theme that I feel like I'm a different person every 7 years. Well, the first 0 through 7, I don't recall doing a lot with my life, or I don't remember a lot of it, so that was probably one version of me, and then between 8 and 14, that was my Nintendo fandom version of me, and
Someday I'll be just like you.
and between my 14 and 21, that feels like that was probably I don't know if that was another phase or if I just didn't do anything there then. I mean, I was still heavy in the Nintendo, and frankly, I was still heavy in the Nintendo between 7 and 14 and 14 and 21. So maybe I was a little less interested in it, but not by much. Yeah. So I'm breaking my rule already. And then I'd say probably between somewhere around 21, although not really. It was somewhere around 18 to 20, 25 is the time when I was heavy into anime. And I still was in the Nintendo even during that time too. It really, what finished Nintendo for me was whenever the Wii came out. I played the Wii and I liked it. I liked the Wii for what it was, but in retrospect, it was the thing that stopped third-party games from coming out. So the Wii really killed Nintendo for me. And then I was in the anime and I watched it for a long time, and then I got busy with a job, and as I got more and more busy and it never stopped. I mean, I was busy for 5 years straight, basically. Just wasted 5 years of my life working at a job. And of course people go, well, at least you got paid, and I'm like, well, how much is 5 worse years of your life worth to you? Because I did nothing. Nothing at all. Just wake up, go to work, go home, go to bed for 5 years straight. How much would that be worth to you? Because my job certainly didn't pay me that much. Whatever number's in your head didn't pay that much. Anyways, to get off bitterness of dumb decisions, it just went away. My liking of anime just disappeared, and I don't know what really caused it. I don't know what really just had it go away, and then I still like anime. It's not like I had a violent reaction to something and I wanted it to disappear forever. Oh, why didn't I hit that one? That was dumb. On 2 levels. First of all, this guy wouldn't have powered up, and it would have saved me some damage. But yeah, it just, my passion for it went away, and so now I feel like the 3rd iteration, which if you run the numbers, in every 7 years I should be at somewhere between a 4th or a 5th iteration, but whatever. So I feel like this iteration, this version of me, who certainly feels like a completely different version of the previous me's. It's like one day I wake up and I feel like I'm a completely different person than the person I was a year ago, 7 years ago. But it's not like one day, but it's a realization. It's not I wake up and I feel I'm a completely different person from the person I was yesterday. I never noticed that. Having a lot of people quit today, which is fine. Give me more gold. So I was big into video games with the Nintendo. When I got off the Nintendo, I gave in and got the Xbox 360. And then I took a lot of my fandom, undoubtedly for Nintendo, and poured it into the Xbox 360 and played tons of games that I had not been able to play because of Nintendo not getting those games. Often they were older, mature
asked for
games and such. So there was a lot of stuff that I had never played that I could play now. And so that was kind of where my fandom did. And then I played the Xbox 360 and played the heck out of it. Undoubtedly.
Ready for action!
I have almost 70,000 gamer score. And most people only get up to like 30 to 40,000 gamer score on Xbox 360. And why do I use gamer score as a metric? It's not a great metric, but it's kind of, it shows that you've played many different games and you've played those many different games a lot. If somebody just plays Halo, they could at most get 1,000 gamer score. Then they could probably get some DLC on Halo to get it a little bit higher. But
Someday I'll be just like you.
Job's done.
so a person that played Halo for 5 years on Xbox 360 would only have a very small gamer score. Conversely, if somebody played thousands of games but only played them for a short amount of time, they could only get maybe 10 gamer score in each game. So it is not a accurate or good measurement, but it is a rough estimate to show that I just played dozens and dozens of games, and I played almost all of them to 100% completion. Trying to get the gamer score. I was really obsessed about it. I'm done with metrics like that. It doesn't really help anything. My new metric, if I'm gonna pick one, is gonna be views on YouTube.
Job's done.
So I don't know about that. Give me more views if you can. Suggest me to your friends. Which at the moment I'm over 200 views, which is cool. I'm possibly over 200 videos uploaded but not released. So a little thought there too. Lots of my videos at the moment don't have any views, and I would like that to change.
Job's done.
But if this whole thing just becomes an archive, and maybe this thing will be interesting to any descendants of mine or relatives of mine in the future, maybe they'll be watching me and seeing what I was doing with my life and how I was wasting it. Or maybe they'll think this is really cool. Really cool to understand what I was doing on this specific day. I certainly am not going to ever be able to know what like my parents were doing or anybody from the past. I can give you a rough estimate of what they were doing in those years, but not the exact what they were exactly doing, and they certainly won't remember what they were doing. So I was big into Xbox 360, to get back to the story, and then there was just about a year before I started recording YouTube. There was a year because I had arthritis in my hands, and because I was just kind of burned out of it. There was a whole year where I didn't play video games at all. So coming back and putting it on YouTube has certainly revitalized that thought. And it certainly has improved my feelings. There's an audio glitch there. The music's out. I don't like when the music goes out. It makes everything sound a little bit weird. So I was kind of burned out of video games, and I took a year of not playing it. For a while there, it certainly felt like I was just never going to play video games again. Which is a concept that is about the most strangest concept in my mind as possible. If somebody tells me they don't play video games, I just don't believe them. Unless they can then back it up with, I don't play video games because I am Amish. Or something like that. And then I would probably generalize it and go, well, do you play games? Period. And then they'd say, of course I play games. I play board games and card games and all that. And then I'd be like, alright, fine. At least we have that common ground. We play games. But it's really weird to my ear if somebody says they don't play video games. I mean, if you mean you play video games for 5 minutes on your cell phone, fine. At least we have some common ground. I do that too, on
Behold
occasion.
the might of Stormwind!
Vaporization commencing.
So for a while there, I thought I would never play it, and then the crazy whim got into me to start recording and start playing again. And it didn't just pop in my head one day. What happened is, as a process of not playing video games, I started watching a lot of other people on YouTube play video games. Maybe that's why you're watching me right now, is that you've got some kind of reason or why you just don't want to play the game yourself, or you just enjoy
Someday I'll be just like you.
enjoy my content, which would be great too.
I'm ready. I'm not ready.
So I wasn't playing video games, but I was more and more spending more of my time watching people play like Minecraft. A lot of people playing Minecraft, watching review sites play video games as part of their review. Mostly Giant Bomb in that case.
Squire, attend me.
Ready, sir.
And so, for a good amount of time,
Ready for this?
watching other people do it, that certainly must have inspired me to start doing it. And so then the thought just occurred to me that I was like, why don't I do it? Why don't I play video games?
Job's done.
And record it and make some commentary over it. At the moment in my life, I have nobody that can come over to my house and play video games with me. As you get older, it is close to impossible to keep those kind of relationships. People get busy and have families and job obligations, and I certainly couldn't go over to somebody else's house and play video games with them too, so it's a two-way street.
Don't blink.
Job's done.
I think I'm probably lost here, but so I started recording and now I'm back in the video games. And that thought gives me some hope. If I can renew a cycle, if I can become a video game fan after that 7 years or so personality has gone away, and be close to that person, more wiser, older, more improved version of that person, but still have the passion. That is inspiring inspires hope in me. And it doesn't just inspire hope that, yes, I'll continue playing video games, which all indications seem that it will be true, that will occur. But it also inspires hope that I will maybe go back and be super passionate about watching anime. I don't think I have a right to call myself an otaku. I think I was and I'm not anymore, and I probably won't ever be again, which is fine. But maybe I can get the passion and start watching some of the series I've already bought and getting some of those. I mean, there are series I want to buy, and it's hard to say, yes, that's a smart idea to buy that when there are several DVDs sitting on my shelf I haven't even watched. And part of that too is that some of them just didn't go the way I wanted. I lost interest, and that's fine. You don't have, if you buy a set of a TV series, you don't have to watch it all. If you
must cleanse.
You're being a little wasteful, but it's your party. You can stop watching if you want to. But it inspires hope. Maybe I could be a Nintendo fan. If Nintendo quit doing things crazy, if they started releasing their games on PC tomorrow, I think I could be a fan. I really think I could be a fan again. And so that's my silly thought, that I feel like a different person every 7 years. And it's not just those things. It feels like a lot of things are different. How I'm feeling about myself, how I'm feeling about the world. It feels like everything changed. Like it's just somebody scooped out a brain and put it in my body, and then they scooped out that brain and they put in another brain every 7 years. And I remember the things I did. I remember how I used to be, but I don't have the passions I used to. I don't care about the things I used to. And some of those things I care about caring about them, but I can't just care about them. So I don't know if any of this conversation has made any sense to anyone, but I wanted to have it again. I wanted to put it out there. If anybody feels like this too, I'd love to see your comments. Even if you see this years later, I'll get the message, so give me comments. If you have had the exact opposite experience and you go, no, I've always felt like myself, it's good to hear those stories too. So if you want to just say, no, I don't understand anything you're saying, I've always felt exactly like myself, and I don't think I've changed much at all in my life. You're probably a pretty boring person, but that's just speculation on my part. If you're going to say you haven't changed at all in your life, you might be very young too. But so that's my thought, and that's the end of this episode. We didn't do anything, but we weren't really going to do anything. No more quests. We totally boned it up by losing that first episode, but can't fix it, sorry. And we did our best. We did the conversations over again in 2 more episodes. So gonna be a short recording session, just 2 episodes, but that's fine. I have enough backlog to cover that, so it won't be a problem. As always, I ask everybody to like, share, and subscribe. Comment if you want to, particularly on this one I want comments. And watch every second of my videos, because that helps. Have a good evening.